second graders. Today we are going to work on our point of view comprehension skill with our story from yesterday, Once Upon a Baby Brother by Sarah Sullivan. Remember that this book is a fiction book, meaning it has made up characters and events. And our essential question this week asked, how do people get along? In this story, you read about how a sister finds a way to get along with her baby brother Marvin. Now, listening to this story was an assignment from a previous day. So if you have not listened to this story all the way through, I want you to go back and listen to the story out loud so you are ready and prepared to talk about it. For this lesson, we are going to be practicing identifying the point of view of the main character. Remember that to find the point of view, you must think about what the characters say and do. So you're going to be looking at what they say and through their actions. There may be more information about the main character's point of view than the other characters in the book. And different characters can have different points of views. So it's important to pay attention to all of the characters and what they say and do. A character's point of view can also change during the story. So just because a character thinks or acts a certain way at the beginning, it doesn't mean that they still feel or think that way at the end. That's why it's important to pay close attention to dialogue and actions. This is the graphic organizer that we have been using for the last 2 weeks in order to identify the point of view. We list the character name, the clue, and the clue is often dialogue or what the characters are doing, so what they say or do, which leads us to the point of view, how they feel or think about a topic. You will need your composition notebook. You're going to open it to the next fresh page, label it at the top with our comprehension skill, point of view, and the title of our story, Once Upon a Baby Brother. And you will create your chart for character, clue, and point of view. This might take a moment, so please pause the video until you're ready to move on. Okay, second graders, before I reveal this first page, I just want to let you know that we are going to zoom in onto parts of the story at the beginning and at the end to see if we can identify how Lizzie, the main character, how her point of view changes from the beginning to the end. So once again, I am not going to be rereading the whole story, but I will kind of recap the main parts of the story. So if you will remember, at the beginning of the story, Lizzie loved to tell stories. She told stories to her dad, to her dog, to her mom. She loved making stories up. And we learned that everything was fine until what or who came along. So we're going to zoom in to a specific part in the story to look for a clue about Lizzie's point of view. So follow along with me. Okay, so here we are. In Lizzie's life, everything was fine until her little brother Marvin came along. I take a look at Lizzie's picture right there, and she does not look very happy. Looks like she's kind of like telling someone no or pointing in the other direction. She doesn't have a smile on her face. She doesn't seem very excited about her little baby brother. So everything was fine until Marvin came along. Then, when Lizzie tried to tell a story before breakfast, her mother said, "Not now, dear. Marvin has a dirty diaper." When she tried to tell her father a story after dinner, he said, "Maybe later, Lizzie. It's time for Marvin's bath." How do you think Lizzie was feeling? Maybe like no one had time for her, no one could listen to her stories, and there was Marvin taking up all of her parents' time. What do you think was her point of view about Marvin? Did she like Marvin and appreciate Marvin at the beginning of this story? What do you think? So we can write down for our first point of view, the character of Lizzie. Our clue is the part we zoomed in on. where the author said everything was fine until her little brother Marvin came along, which told us how Lizzie felt. Lizzie felt like Marvin got in the way of everything. That was her point of view. Lizzie thinks her little brother gets in the way. That is what we learned from the clue and the page that we just read. You can pause this video as you write down your clue and point of view, and then we'll be ready to think about how Lizzie feels at the end of the story. Okay, here we are now. We're going to look at the last 2 pages of our book. I'm going to listen as I read aloud, and then we will kind of zoom in. While her mother cooked dinner, Lizzie pulled Marvin into her lap. "Listen to this," she said. Lizzie gave Marvin a hug. Big George lifted his chin and howled. "That's only the beginning," said Lizzie. "Wait till you see what happens in episode 2. So 2nd graders, if you can't remember, how we got to the end was that Lizzie had a writing assignment to make a comic book. And at the same time, her little brother Marvin went to go stay with their grandparents for a few days. And as Marvin wasn't there, she kind of lost all of her inspiration for writing. And she couldn't think of anything to write about. And while Marvin was gone, she realized she started to miss him. And she started to write her comic book all about Marvin. And she was so excited to share her story with her brother when he got home. I can see that she gave him a big hug. She pulled him into her lap to read the story to him. Has she changed her point of view about Marvin from the beginning of the story? Does she feel differently about him now? What do you think? How can you tell? What are things that Lizzie says or does to make you think that she feels differently about Marvin? I can zoom in on this page, and I can see from the picture clues that she's giving him a big hug, and the text reads, "Lizzie gave Marvin a hug." So maybe that's your clue for our next row in our point of view chart. So it is your turn. You are going to fill in and let us know, how does Lizzie feel about Marvin now at the end of the story? And how do you know? What is the clue that you see either in the picture or through the words about how Lizzie feels now? You are going to fill in the clue and the point of view, and then you will upload a picture if your camera is working on the page titled Option 1. If your camera is not working for some reason, you can choose to type your answers into the chart on the very last slide. As you read your own independent reading book, 2nd graders, I want you to pay attention to the main character and if their point of view or feelings change from the beginning to the end of the story. Do their points of view change? Thanks for working with me today, 2nd graders, practicing our comprehension skill. Have a great afternoon.